put that right in the chat as soon as it's available.
Okay, it does say we are live on YouTube. All right. And you say you're sending that to the chat now, right?
Yeah, it was pulling up, but now it's up now.
I do not see it in the chat.
No, I'm about to right now. It literally was loading, but it just pulled up. Got it. Ooh, there we go.
All right, guys. This is another episode of just Mogul Minds Presents. I guess Real Talk Chicago is a little bit different because Real Talk Chicago is a show where we tend to focus on Chicago creatives and entrepreneurs. Henry, you might want to change the view. Right now it's stuck on you. You should put it on gallery.
Gotcha. Right now, you're talking about view on the.
Like right now, it's make sure it's on gallery in the upper right-hand corner where it says view.
It's on gallery view.
All right, cool. Maybe it was mine. I changed mine. This is the first time I'm doing it from this computer. But either way, Real Talk Chicago is a show where we focus on Chicago creatives and entrepreneurs. Scarecrow's Wish is a show in which we like to get into the conspiracy facts behind stuff. A lot of things are called conspiracy theories in today's society. And one of the things that made me realize is a lot of people think that conspiracy and conspiracy theory are the same thing. You notice this a lot on social media. When people don't know something, they're quick to call something a conspiracy, but what they actually mean is conspiracy theory. Mm-hmm. And then we're now in 2021 kind of really delving into a lot of different aspects of content creation, but knowledge and truth and understanding is one of the things that we always search for. And a couple of months back, we had our guy, shout out to our sponsors over at Tonsor, what's that, 5959 North Elston, new location. Our guy Smoke the Barber, he's a Hebrew Israelite. And, you know, he had, it was a really good episode. You can go back and check that out. It's called Hebrew Israelite, Race, Not a Religion. And that was the episode that we did. Now, Sharif, I did want to ask you, before we delve too much into your specific history, what do you know about the relationship between the Moors and the Hebrews?
Okay. All right. So I would say, speaking in the recent history, speaking on the people so-called African Americans in this country, I would say that the relationship is intimate. A lot of what the movements that we see now, whether it's Hebrew Israelites or people they consider themselves Moors, Nation of Islam, any of that, a lot of that sprung out of what Prophet Noble Drew Ali established in the early 1900s.
And for those who may not be familiar, I'll let you finish, but I do want you to delve into who Prophet Noble Drew Ali was.
Definitely. All right. So one of the reasons I'm saying that, I don't know if I can do screen share.
Henry,
I'm
you should be able to
zeroed in and focused in a second. I was just sharing this link on different platforms, but
right.
I want to bring up, if I can share the screen, I want to share an image.
You should be able to. You should be able to share the screen.
All right, hang on one second. Cool. Let me get this. Okay, so there's an image that's been floating around on the internet showing it's like a black and white photo from Harlem, and it's showing a group of Moorish Zionists, right? And they have what we would traditionally associate as the Israel flag, where they have like the 6-pointed Star of David, with their banner right behind that specifically says the Moorish Zionists. I would have to pull up the actual photo.
I think I've seen this recently.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull it up. Maybe I could get the source too on it. But the reason I brought that up though really was just to let it be known that there was these people were intermingling, mixing together as far as ideologies, and all of these things were occurring around the same time. Before the Prophets movement started, which I guess we'll get into later, you had the UNIA movement, which was started by our brother Marcus Mosiah Garvey. All right.
Oh, and this is when Marcus Garvey was actually putting together the funds and trying to get Black Americans to go to Africa, correct?
Yes, that's correct. So
did Liberia come out of that?
One of his goals was to get our people to have land that was specifically set aside for us. But also, he was specifically aimed at increasing our economic base, being able to support ourselves. Now, getting land in Africa, that was another thing that he was pushing for. But within that movement, he, for the most part, wasn't really pushing the whole spiritual religion side of it. But within his movement, you had people who identified as Muslims. You had people who identified as Hebrews. One of his right-hand man, matter of fact, was somebody who later became known as Rabbi Josiah Ford. I believe he was from Barbados, if I'm not mistaken. And he was also based in New York. But he became known as Rabbi Josiah Ford. Right. And then later on, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he also was, if not a member of the temple, the Moorish Science Temple of America, he was associated with it, working with it, right? Later on, after the brother Garvey was deported.
So, Sharif, since you brought it up, and you were saying these groups at different times throughout history essentially intermingled to some degree, to a common end. You brought up the Moorish Science Temple of America, and most people have never heard of the Moorish Science Temple of America. And then a lot of people too, when they do hear, I've seen wherein people are, what is this? Is this like Scientology? Mm-hmm. So people do have a lot of questions. So for people who have never heard of the Moorish Science Temple of America, how would you explain to them what that is?
All right. So the easiest way to explain the Moorish Science Temple of America would be to say that this was a religious organization that was set up under the protection that we have under the Constitution, right? Freedom of religion. And it gives you a broad spectrum. So our freedom of religion allows us to come in and reconnect with our divine heritage, which has been hidden from us, stripped from us. So it allows us to come in and reconnect with that from a spiritual standpoint, historically, our culture, our customs, all of these things that have been stripped from us. So it allows us to come in.
When you say us, when you say us, Sharif, who is us specifically when you're talking about Moors and the Moorish Science Temple of America?
Okay, so when I say that specifically, I'm speaking about the indigenous people of North, South, and Central America and the Caribbean, right? Without quoting the Quran to you exactly, very broad. The indigenous people of North, South, Central America, and the Caribbean islands. Not saying those are the only Moors in the world, just as far as Moorish Americans are concerned.
Okay. And that lost heritage that you referenced, what is that lost heritage?
All right. Can I share the screen?
Please. Yeah, you should be able to.
You should be able to. Yeah, just share screen.
Right. Okay, so yeah, let me pull up these slides, and I'll go through it real fast. Hang on. All right. So the lost heritage from our perspective would be as so-called Black people. It's perfect. This is February, Black History Month. And once again, I'm not saying this to leave out people from Brazil, lived in Brazil for 5 years. Most of the people there were my complexion or darker, right? Not leaving out people from Jamaica, any of these other places, but we're specifically talking about our people here in North America. When we talk about Black History Month, it usually starts at slavery. Like literally, we didn't really do anything. We didn't create anything. There's a reason for that.
Yeah.
There's a reason for that. I don't say this to make people mad or make anyone who's thinking, oh, he hates himself. No, there's a reason for that. Black started very recent, or Negro, right? It was a creation. And a lot of work went into creating that category that we got boxed into. What you see right up here says the Negro Law of South Carolina. This specific act or law was written in 1740, but this type of thing occurred all over the country. Like you have several Black codes, Black Christian codes.
This is where we get into that conversation of colorable law, right?
Exactly. And so this was literally the creation of what we proudly claim to be today. It was a social political creation. Some people would say even legally, since you had laws defining what a Negro is. And this law specifically, like, is crazy because if you really read it with eyes that are wide open, you will see when you read section 1, 2, and 3 that the indigenous people here used to be, well, they look like us. But within the wording of this law, people who look like that, they're now called Negroes.
Right. They're reclassifying people. This is what's referred to by a researcher that I'm very familiar with as paperwork genocide.
Yes.
Right. So completely eradicate people with these colorable terms like what these aren't nationalities. Like Hispanic is not a nationality.
Yeah, so
Like,
we definitely touched on these topics in the past on this platform where, you know, they just did a, you know, very in-depth effort to separate all of us from real history and our real ancestors, and they want to suppress us. And I mean, you know, we've talked about this plenty of times where they re-educated us, a whole society to, you know,
indoctrinated is the word I prefer.
Indoctrinated us into their whole way of living to keep us oppressed. And, you know, it's definitely something that, and, you know, my limited you know, exposure to the Moorish, like to some Moorish content that I've reviewed is at the very least is actually giving you real history behind like what was North America, and you know that Black people were here, or you know melanated people were here well before slavery. And you just look at it, doesn't make sense the amount of melanated people on this side of the world. There's no way they could have shipped everybody, you know.
Oh no way.
It just doesn't make sense if you just like logically speaking. So, you know, I definitely am on board with you and all that, where we've definitely been indoctrinated. We've been taught false history to separate us from our ancestors, from our true selves, from our self-esteem, all that. So I definitely agree with that 100%.
And
that's on point. And one thing I just want to say, I'm not trying to say that nobody was brought over here as a prisoner of war from Africa on actual slave ships, not trying to go all the way left and say that, because that would be erroneous. However, the numbers have been embellished and they'll say that they wiped out all the indigenous people. Well, what about all these people who are here right now, right?
Right.
Like in Mexico, like in wherever you go, those are the indigenous people.
Right,
okay?
Right, like, or Puerto Rico, they say that all the Tainos, all the Arawaks are dead. Are they dead, or did you start calling them Puerto Rican?
Yeah, they're in Puerto Rico, they're in Jamaica, they're in Haiti / Dominican Republic, right? They're all Taino people, and they're still here, right? And so definitely this is something that we need to have a good in-depth discussion on, so that people can gain insight onto it. Because if I just say, well, you know, you shouldn't call yourself Hispanic or Latino because that's putting you under the creation that they built specifically for denying who you truly are. Or you shouldn't identify as Black. You know, somebody, and not saying that they're stupid, but somebody will see that and maybe get offended or feel like it's attacking your culture. Not doing that at all. Just saying that we need to look at this deeper, because they start Hispanic off in this same period that you see up on the screen. But as Moors, you predate that.
Also, we're back on the first slide you were on. We're no longer on we're on the one that says.
All right, yeah, on the first one. So if you see at the bottom, the Moorish history predates that. Moorish history predates even organized Islam, because the Moors are the ones who are the caretakers of the knowledge and wisdom from the people who built pyramids all over the world, right? It predates, it goes farther back than we think. That's why we'll see statues of the stone heads. And has anyone ever seen the Easter Island heads? And in the Pacific Ocean, you have the Easter Island heads on this island, and then some of them are wearing fezzes, literally.
I have not seen that. I have seen ancient South American artwork and actual, like, I've seen in South America where they have found, I don't know if these people are ancient royalty or what they were, but they definitely absolutely have fezzes in even the way they were depicted in the artwork. And I think it's extremely interesting that the way that you phrased it just now almost makes the Moors sound like history's record keepers.
Definitely, I would say that. And just to add to what you said about seeing artifacts, I guess in South America with people wearing fezzes, there's actually a description. I think the explorer who described it, I think his name was Garcia de la Vega. I don't have it in front of me right now, but he's describing the indigenous people, the Incas. He spells it with a Y, the Incas of Peru. And he's talking about how the nobility there were wearing this headdress that they called a yantu. Okay, so it doesn't matter if they called it a fez or not, because the yantu was described as being crimson red, like this, and having a tassel on it, right? So it doesn't, I mean, you call it a yantu, he calls it a whatever, it doesn't matter. Even if they didn't call themselves Moors, they were Moors. They're keeping the science. They understand the stars. They're building temples and pyramids that are lined up with the stars that are on energy points on the earth. So they're having this knowledge that predated even the continent splitting up. There was a worldwide civilization, and that's why we're Moors. So the stripping was the removing us from this heritage. Truly, this is why the prophet said that we descend from the creators of civilization. So that's why it was important to remove us from that, to disconnect you from it completely, right?
Which is obviously, if your objective is to disenfranchise and or enslave a group of people, it's extremely difficult to do that to a people with a knowledge of self.
Exactly.
Knowledge of self, true knowledge of history, spirituality.
You got to get rid of all of that. And you did. I know you brushed past it, but I do want to circle back to it a little bit. One of a couple of years ago, I ended up hosting a debate, and these guys did a flat Earth debate. And it's one of the things that first made me realize that they were censoring content on the internet, because I immediately got blacklisted just for hosting the debate.
Yeah.
But amongst my research, so I started doing research. I used to be very, very deep into the space stuff. When I started doing research, I wanted to do a tally system to prove one of the guys right, one of the guys wrong. I ended up not doing a tally system because it was just going to piss off the viewers, because the flat earther won. But what I found most interesting was when I was doing the research, I ended up finding out that the pyramids, and it doesn't matter if we're talking about the pyramids here in North America, the pyramids in South America, and South America actually has the largest pyramids in the world. Yeah. And then you get over to Africa and you find out things like Sudan has more pyramids than Egypt, but they always want to show us Egypt. Yeah. And all of these pyramids, even the ones in where they find them, where Nikola Tesla's from, like the Serbia, Croatia area, they've even found pyramids over there most recently. Yeah. All these pyramids are aligned with the stars. And if these pyramids are tens of thousands of years old and they still align with the stars, then I think people should take a second look at that heliocentric model that they think, is true science.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think it may even go deeper than any of us can comprehend. Like maybe we're in a holographic universe, right? Maybe this physical reality isn't as real as we think it is, and I mean, depending on where people are in their understanding, they may be able to comprehend that or not.
It's once you figure out that almost everything that you've been taught your entire life is a lie, and you've been in this matrix or whatever people want to give that term for, until they can get to that point, that's when you can't even get to that understanding of, where we're actually at, or what we're actually, what our reality actually is. But it's just people are so just comfortable, or the cognitive dissonance or whatever, they just like it contradicts everything they believe. It just, they can't accept it. So it's tough, it's tough. But I mean, I think we're in a good time right now where a lot of people are getting woke every day, or people are coming out of that sleep or
Coming
whatever.
into truth, right? And
Coming
that's
in,
a good
coming
segue for
into
one of
truth.
the questions that we had.
Absolutely.
And Sharif, I wanted to ask you, when in your life, because I imagine you, like most people, grew up learning the same stuff that we all, the same indoctrination information that we all learn.
Oh yeah.
What in your life happened? Because I heard you say you lived in Brazil for some years.
Mm-hmm.
What exactly was your? I know you're in the Midwest with us, but you're not in Chicago with us. But what exactly is your personal experience? And what brought you into being a student of Noble Drew Ali?
All right. Well, yeah. Thankfully, I'll definitely share my experience. Just briefly, I was born in Ohio, but I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee, in the dirty South, in the land of the dead. Like when I was coming up there, where it was cool to be gangster, cool to be ignorant, and it just shiesty and untrustworthy. Like this is what I was coming up in, right? With and there was no knowledge out there, right? I was born in 1980, so when I wanted to learn something, I had to get out, go to the libraries, get out and talk to people, meet people. So it wasn't the information wasn't as prevalent. Like the internet isn't what it was back then. It isn't like it is now. So I'd say like around real early 20s, started really deep thinking, like questioning reality and looking deeper. And one day actually met a Moor. And I'd say like 2005, a brother named Elihu Pleasant Bay, he actually had a store set up in Memphis. And first time I ever met anyone who looked like us wearing a fez, and he let me know that we're not black, and he explained what that meant. That kind of got me started on that journey. I didn't join the temple or anything like that. I was just aware. I knew that there was something else to this.
This was the
We
first
did leave
time
the
that
country, though. We
this was
did.
this was the first time that you had ever heard somebody refer to a black person say that you're not black, correct?
Yeah, that's the first time anyone ever even insinuated that black isn't something that we created. This is not something that came from our community. It's something that was like built up for us, like, and we just took it on. It was an identity that was created from outside of us. And so that, I mean, that made sense because at that time I was already reading Malcolm X biography and just thinking deeper. Even the reason why I went into his store is I saw some symbols on there and I was thinking, oh, that looks interesting. I'm just gonna go in here and hope that they can show me something, because I didn't know what I was gonna see when I went in there. I mean, like there was no knowledge out in Memphis, like in Memphis, Tennessee. It wasn't like New York or these places where New York, you have 5%ers and all these people out there in the streets. It was not like that. All right.
So from the time you meet this Moor, and he's the first Moor you ever met, you're still in Memphis, Tennessee. How old are you at this point?
At that time, about 24, 25. And that just helped spark me on that journey. I still have this card he gave me of the prophet. He said to keep it on you at all times. And it just helped me think deeper, because I didn't even know about the prophet Noble Drew Ali. Never heard anything about Moors, or especially thinking that, hey, maybe we've been duped, that we're not black. That's something, because I was thinking, oh, black is beautiful, black power, all of this stuff that most of us think, right? Black history. I didn't even know anything. So that was the first time that someone said anything like that. And I didn't reject it because I was looking for the information. Right.
Right.
I'm glad I met that brother. He helped spark me in that direction, just to look deeper. And
but that wasn't the end all be all, right? So
no, not for me. No.
That started your journey of searching for truth.
Yes, definitely. Personally, like me and my wife, we've been through all the schools of thoughts, like literally just studying all of these different philosophies and ways of thinking. I mean, even going through voodoo. She's actually Haitian and Puerto Rican, so that's like her culture. But we went through all of that, man. And even by going through all that, we see that Moorish, from our perspective, the Moorish paradigm is all encompassing. Everything is included in it.
But certain aspects of what people may view as brujeria or voodoo, like you were just saying, certain aspects of that could fall under the Moorish science aspect.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, some people may disagree with this, but even in Palo Mayombe, where they're saying Salam Aleikum, right? Like, where does that greeting really come from? You know, it's all related to it. It's something that's been getting practiced in the Caribbean for a while, even before the Europeans came over here. They would say that it just came through the slave trade, but this is something that's been going on for a while, right? The 7 Orishas, the 7 main Orishas, that's the 7 Elohim, the 7 chakras. Like, it's all tied in, it's all connected.
That's funny because I've never even heard of any of those other than the 7 chakras.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's me growing up being a fan of anime, but then learning about, you know, the inner body and your energy and how we have these different auras and there's different levels to ourselves that we need to unlock. And it seems like what I once thought was, you know, fantasy is derived from what can be found in more science.
Mm-hmm.
Most definitely. And I think that one thing is, like, once you kind of figure out who the enemy is, who truly is the enemy, the people, or, you know, the presence that's been hiding the information from us, right? Then you kind of you go on your quest for knowledge, and, you know, your quest for knowledge is never ending. But you go on your quest for, you know, researching history, different philosophies. Like, I've been doing that as well, just studying different, you know, philosophies, philosophers, finding deeper meaning, finding spirituality. And all revolves, you know, it doesn't matter where, you know, where you come from. Once you start looking into that, you see that all this stuff is, you know, that we thought was fantasy, you know, spiritual energies, all these different things are all very real.
Yeah.
And until you figure out that, hey, this deep evil who has been doing all this to us is real, the opposite is also real. But, you know, it just has to, you have to get to that point to figure out who the enemy is, who's been hiding knowledge, go on your own quest for knowledge. And then, you know, and me, I'm just, you know, I'm like maybe a year into my quest where I really know who the enemy is. So I'm still in that, where I'm just trying to learn every single day, and, you know, just find, you know, ourselves, study history, study philosophy, because, you know, they've hidden too much for me. And now, just like, you know, it's like an open world now for me, just to, you know, dig deep. You know, it's dope, man. It's dope.
Yeah, that's what's up. And just the fact that you know to think outside the box and not to necessarily just trust what's being given to you, you know, to look deeper, do your own research. That's all you need to know right there. Right? Because like, what's given to us is what's safe, what's acceptable. And what's acceptable keeps us complacent. And that's how people are able to rule over us. You know?
Exactly.
Where do you think, Sharif, actually, before we get into that, so after you met this Moor, you say you were in your mid-20s. You were born in the 80s, so that makes you about 10 years older than me. At what point do you start to study the Moorish Science Temple?
I didn't actually study the Moorish Science Temple and come in and join, proclaim my nationality until 2018, right? I had been doing outside research. Like I said, we left the country like middle fingers in the air, like, forget the US, we're gonna do our own thing. Stayed out there for over 5 years, came back.
Did you learn Portuguese?
Oh yeah, we learned Portuguese on the fly. Just like, yeah, sim, eu falo português e pouco espanhol também, but like,
So just a little bit of Spanish?
I can understand it. Yeah, I can wing it. But we learned that on the fly, lived out there, weren't even planning on really coming back, you know, and then we grew. We just gained a better understanding, you know, just from traveling and being around other people, and still studying the information. It's just like, for me, was looking at it from the outside. I'm not really big on joining things anyway, so I wasn't in any rush to join.
Right.
And I'm glad we did that too. When we finally moved back to the US, after a couple of years, like, let's go ahead and join the temple. and get in and do this right. And my understanding of the reason why I felt that was important was because I was actually studying what the prophet brought. And I feel like it's actually important to be a part of the Moorish, what's called the Moorish Divine and National Movement. The prophet actually he didn't just set up a church. The Moorish Science Temple of America is actually an Islamic nation state. And he actually set up a government, right? It's in disarray right now. But the thing is, if we don't come in and put in the work to make it work for us, nobody else is going to do it.
So it's a non-combative government occupying the same space as the U.S.
Yes, just like I guess you could say like any other nations, any other people who are capable of governing themselves that are here as well. From the purpose of the Moorish Science Temple of America, the way that he set it up under this Hers Revised statute in Illinois, it allowed for the creation of a body politic.
What is a body politic?
All right, a body politic is a governing body. It is a government. Let me pull up a meme for you.
Yeah, definitely, because I know that is something that a lot of people have been like coming to the conclusion, like, hey, we definitely have to do our own thing. We definitely have to create our own education for our children. We definitely have to.
We're allowing cowards and criminals and thieves and liars to teach our children and run our finances.
That have done our people in from for as far back as like they can, and they're the ones teaching our children and teaching us. Like they taught me, growing up. So, that's something that definitely a lot of people need to look into. Is like, hey, we need to start our own communities, our own schools. Because who's going to take care of your community better than you and your people in your community,
Right.
We need to stop outsourcing to these, demons, I call them. We got to stop outsourcing, our communities to these demons that are, definitely don't have our best interests in mind, to say the least.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, definitely you're both right. The prophet Noble Drew Ali saw this back in his time. He was moving like this in the midst of our people getting lynched.
Right? Sharif, let me read it for the people who may only hear the audio.
All right.
So my question to you was, what is a body politic? And you pulled up, some info that you got. Also, we do want to make it a point to let all the viewers know that you are the person who runs the Moors in America. So if any of this information is interesting to you, if this is something you want to follow up with, Sharif also did an episode with us that we did a couple of weeks back. This, doing phenomenal numbers. It's called Black History Exposed. Asir the Duke of Tears is on that episode with Sharif as well. The question here, and anytime we're talking with the Moors, I'd be surprised if the verbiage body politic didn't come up. So I would like to gain full understanding of what exactly body politic is. So there's a few different definitions, and I'm gonna run them down. The first quote at the top of the page says, "Study and you will understand why the Moorish Science Temple of America is the only salvation for our people in this day and time." All right. And then there's the first. So it says, Severe's Law Dictionary, 6th edition. This is over 150 years old, this definition here. Body politic, government, corporations. When applied to the government, this phrase signifies the state. Second definition, as to the persons who compose the body politic, they take collectively the name of people or nation, and individually they are citizens when considered in relation to their political rights and subjects as being submitted to the laws of the state. So groups of people, right, individually are citizens. Moving together through collective action is a body politic. So one of the reoccurring themes that we talk about on Mogul Minds in network building, in wealth building, in just trying to get our people out of this current state is group economics. And it sounds like there is no body politic without group economics. Like a body politic sounds like group economics working to its proper extent. So I'm gonna read this last definition and then let you get back to your explanation here, Sharif. It says a term applied to a corporation, which, oh no, yeah, this, okay, so it's the same definition up until, okay, so a term applied to a corporation, which is designated as a body, corporate, and politic. The term is particularly appropriate to a public corporation invested with powers and duties of government. It is often used in a rather loose way to designate the state or nation or sovereign power or the government of a county or a municipality without distinctly connotating any express and individual corporate character. Okay, and then there's a bunch of case law that goes along with this. The first one starting here in Illinois. What is it about Illinois that makes this the Mecca for the Moors, Sharif?
You know what? I can't specify what it is. All I know is that there's other examples of different groups and different Islamic groups coming to Illinois to start their movement off as well. You had the Ahmadiyya movement. It didn't start in Illinois, but it was eventually moved and headquartered there as well. And that was like around the same time that the Prophet was moving. Then later on, of course, you had the Nation of Islam headquarters there as well.
And when you refer to the Prophet, just for the listeners, when Sharif says the Prophet, he's talking about Noble Drew Ali. And for anybody who's unfamiliar, because I noticed that a lot of people who may not have the knowledge or respect always, they like to do the Timothy Drew thing. Mm-hmm. Noble Drew Ali is the name that he chose or the title that he chose. But either way, Rahm Emanuel, the criminal degenerate that used to be the mayor in Chicago, actually signed something, I want to say in 2016 or 2014, mm-hmm. where he acknowledged and made a day that, like, there's an official Noble Drew Ali Day here in Chicago. That's and right. We don't necessarily learn about it, but it exists and it's on record here.
That's right. That's right. And at the end of the day, they know that this information is true. I did want to show this really quickly, if I could just pull up on the $1 bill, right? We see these symbols, these signs and symbols all the time, right? Oh, it's upside down. So we see these weird signs and symbols all the time. They really don't make any sense from the construct of reality that we're given. Like, why is this pyramid on the $1 bill? It's in extreme circulation. It's on the $1 bill. Everybody should have at least one of these, right? So why is that on there? And you can't see it well on here, but this pyramid has 13 steps. Then it has this floating Eye of Providence or the Eye of Ra, or Eye of Horus, whatever you want to call it at the top. This same type structure was found here in Ecuador. There was a pyramid made out of stone. It's like, it wasn't huge. It was like maybe this big. It was found in Ecuador, and it looked just like the one on the dollar. Maybe I can pull up a picture of it too. I have it on my computer.
I'm looking it up. You could, I'm gonna find it.
So, yeah, this same type structure, 13-step pyramid with that Eye of Providence in the capstone was found here in Ecuador, and it had a script that was on the bottom of it, a language. That same language has been found in other countries of the world, even all the way in Italy, places that aren't connected, that are separated by the ocean. Okay, and that's it. And this thing also glows under a black light. All right. And so the reason I'm saying that,
is it a special type of stone?
You know what? I think it's solid like granite. It's a hard rock, but I don't know what kind of stone. I don't know why it glows under a black light. But the reason that's important is because this symbol came way after that. And it's on our US dollar.
Right.
Okay. And many of the people who are in power, who are in a seat of power, whether they're international bankers or whether they're in the seat actually as the president in Senate, Congress, many of these people are Shriners. They also wear our headdress in secret, right? Okay, so, and they're in the White House, right? The White House is the seat of power. Casablanca means white. Casablanca is like the biggest city in Morocco, right? And then they're using our symbols right in our face. And that stone that you showed up, artifacts with that same script have been found all over the world. And guess who was able to translate the script that was found on that pyramid.
I would
A
imagine
Berber.
some Moors.
Yes, a Berber, somebody
a
from
Berber.
North Africa, who his tribe in particular had stories. They have oral stories dating back to ancient civilizations like Atlantis. They have stories
Sure.
of the continents breaking apart.
I definitely want to get into that. Without a doubt, just the concept of what we know as Pangea is just extremely interesting to me. One of the things that I frequently talk about, and Sharif, I continuously and nonstop will always and cannot stop bombing on Freemasons. And then outside of bombing on Freemasons, just for a million different reasons, we got into that a bit in our last episode or in our episode Freemasonry Exposed. I learned about Shriners, and you brought up Shriners just now, and I've met a lot of Caucasian people in my life, a lot of European people in my life. Very, 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 very few that speak or acknowledge Arabic.
Yeah.
So when I see I type in American politician Shriners, and then I start getting all of these, they look like the good old boy clubs, when I start seeing all these guys with swords and fezzes, and their fezzes aren't even always all red, and then I'm looking at it like, these old white guys look like the same type of guys that would have been at like a Klan rally or something, and they're wearing Arabic on their hats.
Yeah, and a lot of times it'll say Muslim on it, right? Or Islam. Yeah, and it's like, what is that about? I mean, from what they give us in school, regardless of where you're from, it doesn't matter if you're from Jamaica, Belize, whatever, or you're from here, from the United States, it doesn't matter. This is what they give us in school. This doesn't fit. What you're showing on the screen does not fit. Why? Ben-Hur, why does it say Muslim? Why does it say Arabia? Right? Why? Right? And then why are they wearing a fez anyway? Why do they have a pyramid?
Right.
Why is this on the dollar? Why was this found here?
What's this all about?
So this is the missing link. We're Moors. We created all of that. They the reason why they hold that though is because somebody civilized them. Somebody gave them a religion, a culture, a language. They didn't create English. They didn't create Spanish. So somebody gave them a language, which is why Spanish has so many Arabic words, right? Laranja, that's the same in Arabic.
Yeah, it definitely has a lot.
Okay, so somebody gave them a language,
both language,
all of that.
Both languages are also genderized, right?
Yeah.
But both languages are also genderized.
Yes. Yeah, with the masculine and feminine, yeah. And so there's evidence, obviously, of where it came from. So the culture, the mathematics, all of that came from somewhere. They're paying homage to it and mocking us at the same time. And
when you say they're mocking us at the same time,
but I would say they're mocking us because they're hiding who we are. There's
they do it all in front of us. It's to me like it's just like I know they poke at people like us who are aware of who they are. So they just, I feel like they just poke fun at us in all different ways. They tell us in all these news cycles, they basically tell us what they're doing right in front of us, and people just refuse to see it.
I'm glad you said that too, because like you're right, they do. This is the Trump card, and I'll show you why. If I could do a screen share, I'll show you proof. We're not making this up. All right. Now, real quickly, I just one time we were having a class for our temple, and as we left, it was me, my wife. She had her turban on. I had my fez on, and there was another brother too. I don't know if he had a turban or fez on, but we're standing there in the parking lot, and there's a man of European descent, very old. I don't know how old, but probably 70s, 80s, probably in his 80s, because he had a tank, like a breathing machine, and he's just staring at us. So I know, I'm like, okay, he must want to talk. And so eventually he finally says something to us. I'm just getting to something I want to share with y'all real quick. But he finally says something to us, and he asked if I'm a Shriner. I'm like, no, I'm in the Moorish Science Temple of America. And he's like, yeah, I know what that is. I know. And then he says, you know what? You guys need to get out and teach this to all of your people. He's like, I've been a Shriner for probably longer than I've been alive. This is what he's saying. Like, you know, he's looking at me, sizing me up. But he's like, you know, he's been a Shriner for all of this time. And that he knows that this is the only way. He said that we need to get out and teach this to our people. He's like, the way that the world is, that things are not going to get better. It's just going to get worse until our people realize who we are. And he said this out of his own words. And this is a conversation that, I'm sorry, okay, thing I wanted to show in up here. Okay, there we go. So the reason why he's saying this to me is because I'm in my proper person. I'm a Moorish American. There's no reason. We don't have to play games. We don't have to play dumb. I'm not asking you for permission. I'm not wondering who I am. I'm not hitting the head anymore, like with the setting stone, right? That's what they did to Hiram Abiff. I'm not unconscious, okay? So there's a difference now. So now we can speak like intelligent men, and we can have a conversation. And so I say this too, that like, I'm not a Freemason or anything like that, but I don't want to attack them. Everybody that's a Freemason and automatically, you know, holding us down. Everybody's not even in that position to hold us down.
Right.
You are right. They do keep the secret and they do laugh at us. And this is something I wanted to show. This is proof. Okay, this quote is from the book, The Secrets of Freemasonry by Elijah Muhammad. But the quote at the top, that is legit. You can go and look it up yourself. This is Henry Berry speaking in the Virginia House of Delegates in 1832. And it's, as it says here, describing the situation as existed at the time in many parts of the South. He said, now remember, he's a lawmaker speaking to lawmakers. In 1832, he says, we have as far as possible closed every avenue by which light may enter the slave's mind. When they're saying slaves, they're speaking about us. They're talking about the so-called Negro. If we could extinguish the capacity to see the light, our work would be complete. They would then be on the level with the beast of the field and we would be safe, right? So why are lawmakers on the record talking about the so-called Negro like this and speaking about extinguishing the capacity to even see the light?
I would, Sharif, I would have to make the argument that they've succeeded at least 75%.
Oh, yeah.
I would say more than that. And I would even, and I would say you go what 160 years later, even in the Senate with Joe Biden in the early 90s with that speech and delegate, you know, just basically saying, calling people super predators and all that stuff. They still do. It's been the same. And people like can't see that, you know, people was like, are in that mentality where it's, hey, it's not as bad as it was back then. Like, and it's like, no, they're doing the same thing to us, just in a different way. So yeah, it's just, you know, all throughout history, they've done things like this. They're on record saying things to us, about us, laws to literally, you know, enslave us damn near, and you know, people just can't see it.
Them leaving it on record shows how little regard they have to have for us.
Yeah. They're not even gonna figure it out. They won't figure it out. They're confident.
And the few that will, let them know.
Yeah,
there's not enough of them.
They were arrogant, you know. And even just recently, not too long ago, maybe 5 years ago, I believe the senator from Alabama. Well, there was one, Scott Beeson, the senator from Alabama, who was speaking about us in private. They were having a discussion about the casinos there in Alabama. And they were basically discussing the so-called Negroes in that area because they needed them to put their weight behind what they were trying to get done. And one of them referred to us, our people there, as Aborigines.
Oh, I remember that. That.
And the guy, the Scott Beeson dude, he's a senator. I don't know if he forgot that he was on an FBI. He was wearing a wiretap because there was like some type of corruption sting going on, and he spoke about it. He kept going on about it, like, oh no, they're not Aborigines. You know, no, the other person said they're Indians. He said they're not Indians, they're Aborigines. He corrected them, right? Because the other guy saying they're the Indians, and they were speaking what they were supposed to be speaking to each other without us in the room.
Right.
This is how they talk about us when we're not around, right? And that was put on the record, you know, that was recorded. And what happened in the media, they played it out on a
They spun it as him being a racist, right?
yeah.
Right, which is funny because Malcolm X is on record literally saying, we are the Aborigines, but you've been taught not to like being called an Aborigine.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like, it literally is the actual, look at the etymology of it, it means the original people.
Yeah.
Or people could even use the word autochthonous, right? You're familiar with this word, Sharif?
Yeah, autochthonous, yeah. Yeah, so
right.
the autochthon. So if you control a people's self-identity, you control them.
Right.
And they program what Black means, right? So the whole hip hop, right? Rap and all of that stuff, everything that we're producing, now you have to go to a gatekeeper to get your music out there. And they're like, okay, well, if you want to do this, you need to talk about now, what is it? Now, what is it? They're pushing pills. You have to get high. You have to be like a drug addict, right? So they're controlling what it means. They boxed you in, and now they control what it means. And then they use the media to push that out to the world. So this is what the world sees too. This is like the Black person is like this unappealing. They're unappealing. They're very materialistic, right? We always blinging and all this showing off. They're materialistic. They're unappealing. A lot of them are criminals and they do drugs and, you know, just about sex, right? They're savages. They're beasts. And so then they're slaughtering us, right? You know, with the some of the police killings and things like this. So they created that position.
Most definitely.
Right.
Yeah.
We have to step out of it. There's no other way. Like there's no way around it.
And Sharif, when you say we have to step out of it, you're talking more so than just, okay, we reject those labels, right? We reject these labels. And these are conversations that Henry and I have all the time about, you know, group economics, moving outside of these systems. And then it always leads back to status correction.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that, and if you want to screen share, maybe, you know, the Moors in America, either the website or the YouTube page. I know that I've watched quite a few of the videos you have on the Moors in America page. Again, I was like subscribed from my personal YouTube for a couple of years since I first really started researching the Moors, because it's only really a handful of pages that, you know, like I think it's you guys, and then it's Moorish Americans 720, something like that.
Uh-huh.
There's not a ton of pages out there, and I came across quite a few guys who I at one point was following their information, and then just me being a researcher in the conspiracy world, sometimes people come across like agents, and that'll really throw you off from some of these people. But could you tell us a little bit about Moors in America, what this is and what it is you aim to do with the lessons that you're putting out?
All right. Well, gratitude, brother. Gratitude. What Moors in America is, what it started out just as a website, like a blog where I could just put up and share information about concerning who we are, why it's important for us to identify, self-identify, showing different aspects of history that connect us as Moors in America, and just putting this all together, and also not just focusing on the temple, because there's some people that are outside the temple, or you have like all of these different schools of thoughts, not trying to knock any of that, just wanted to unify it, putting it together so that everyone can see that there's truth to this, and that this is something that we can use as a vehicle to assist us in our upliftment. So putting that together in a website, and then it evolved into a podcast, and man, this thing got shut down by YouTube like 3 times. Like it was just growing like rapid fire, like crazy, like tons of subscribers. They shut it down. I guess they didn't like the information I was putting out. This is like the 2nd or 3rd time I've had to make a YouTube page for it, right? But, you know, for the most part, we're just sharing the information on there. So it's like free information.
And I watched one of your videos a little bit more recently. I was telling you about it a couple of weeks ago. We were chatting on, I don't know, Messenger. and you did an entire video about status correction.
Yeah.
All right. So super quick crash course, because we are on a little bit of a timeline today, and we can definitely always build again in the future. But person does not mean what the average person thinks that it means in America. For example, corporations are legal persons, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
And because people don't know that, they think that when they're hearing legal jargon, they think that what they're hearing and listening to is English.
Yeah.
But they're not aware that this is a language that looks like English and sounds like English, but it's actually called legalese.
That's right.
And through legalese and paperwork, genocide, paperwork, theft, whatever you want to call it, it's all fraud. What these people are doing are creating legal entities in our likeness that we think are us, and we then begin to operate under these legal fictional titles, which throws us under their colorable law, correct?
That's right. That's right. And you know, for the most part, they get us to take part in commerce in some way in order for them to come in and take control over whatever situation we have going on. So, you know, it's crazy. And
how do we correct this fraud, Sharif?
All right. Right. Just the short answer is we have to come into our own society. So a lot of people have heard you have to make an exodus from Babylon. Some people have actually tried to go to other countries and things like that. Like, we don't have to leave anywhere. This is ours. But we have to come into our own society, our own nation. We have to move as a nation, right? Because that's how things are done in the present day. And as a collective, and not just in name, but in deeds, like we need our own laws, which we have. We need our own customs. We have to undo the savagery, like they created this entity and defined it as a savage. We have to come out of that. It took a process to get into that situation, and it takes a process to get out of it, right? And with the perspective of the Moorish Science Temple of America, I would say everyone should do it, because you're coming in, okay, you're learning what it means to be civilized now. When the Quran, the whole beginning of the Quran is teaching you how to subdue your lower self, the spirituality, to bring out Allah, God in you, right? So that you can handle the power that comes with that, actually being a noble, being the creators of civilization. You don't just go from savage, or I know everybody's not out there like that, but still, you don't just go from that to, oh, we're the creators of civilization. You have to actually emulate that. You have to actually clean yourself up, clean up how we eat, clean up how we treat our family, our children, clean up our act. Then we don't have to tell people we're wonderful. People will see that you are noble by your character. So we have to emulate that. And then our laws that we govern ourselves by, that we don't even have. Like, we don't even have laws and things set up so that, you know, I'm not just out here just dating, trying to jump on any female that walks by. Like, we have rules. Like, no, that's unsustainable. If I'm just getting women pregnant, it's going to tear up society. You need to get married. You need to raise your children together, you know, and set yourself and your children up to succeed. So we have to have that structure. We have to. It's been removed.
It's not about your first name, right?
Yeah. You know, it's to the point where a lot of us don't even think that stuff's important. Right? So we have to come in, we have to take care of that. And then the things that you were saying, yes, moving as a collective economically, right? Every temple was supposed to have their own business. This is something that was actually being done in the prophet's time while he was still here on the earth plane. I'm trying to pull up an old article. Okay, apologize, I don't have it in front of me, but anyway, in the article, it was just saying how every temple has its own store, like a grocery store and a laundry, and then some temples have 2 or 3, right? So just starting out, they have an economic base. And
the Nation of Islam at one point was looking to follow that same type of model.
Yes, and they were doing that in the 20s when what was happening? Tulsa, Oklahoma, what happened there?
Black Wall Street.
In Wilmington, North Carolina, you had race wars, you had massacres where people of European descent were coming in and killing the people, running them out of town,
with the help of the U.S. military in some of these situations.
Yes, actually in Tulsa, dropping bombs on our people, right? So it was war, and our people were set up. We were pushed into a situation where maybe some of us didn't even really realize we were at war. We're thinking it's racism, they're hating on us. We don't know why, right? But when you have your own nation, like the Nation of Islam, you're pushing your own media. We have our own paper. We have an agenda. We have local agendas. We have national agendas. This is how we're moving as a collective. So we're forming our own story. We have our own schools. We're teaching it. Pretty soon, everybody's going to want to learn what we're teaching, because all of this stuff needs to get flipped. It's all upside down, right? So when we're moving like that, then you can't stop it. And then the way that the movement was set up with the temple, this is a part of our religion. You can't come against it. It's infallible. And that's why I'm not going to be up here calling white people crackers and all that. Not doing that, not attacking anyone. No, not with the foolishness, not trying to make anyone feel bad, right? We're about uplifting ourselves and picking ourselves up. And the side effect with that, the side effect of picking ourselves up would be picking up the entire world, because even in our lower state, people still look to us. People are emulating our culture, hip hop culture, whatever it is. People don't even understand the rap lyrics in the songs, and they're singing it all over the world. So even if we're in a savage mind state, people are still looking to us, because we are supposed to be better than that. We're supposed to be leading the world. All right. And this is setting us up to actually be able to do it, not just in talk, to actually physically be able to withstand the weight that comes with leading the world.
Sharif, as far as your study has gone into more spirituality, I view a lot of what's going on as spiritual warfare. What can some of us start to do, some of the listeners out there start to do, to start to combat the spiritual warfare or protect themselves from, this negative energy, if nothing else?
Okay, well, we created a system called the 40-Day Master System, my wife and I, not too long ago. We were actually living in Brazil when we created it. Hold on one second, 40daymastersystem.com. It can go to, anyone can. You can go to 40daymastersystem.com, okay? And we made it so that you can read it, or you can just listen to the audio book. Then we have a neuro-linguistic programming portion of it. It's about reprogramming your mind, right? Because you actually, by the Hermetic laws, if anyone hasn't heard of this, there's 7 Hermetic laws. They're universal. The first one is all is mind. All is mind. So if you can reprogram your mind, you can accomplish anything. Like literally, like we've changed our lives over here. We're doing good. We're successful. And it's all because we figured out the mind game. It's all a mind game.
Exactly.
Everything.
I agree.
40-Day Master System, attract, prosperity, overcome.
Yeah. And it's a download. You can even put it on your phone. There's a neuro-linguistic programming portion of it. It's just key toward changing your mind, your thought patterns, your habits.
It's interesting. I'm actually gonna go ahead and support that. I'm going to go ahead and grab that, because a couple of months back, just in me trying to do my own research and study on myself, one of the things that, I started learning about vibrations and how, Nikola Tesla and how the universe works in vibrations and 432 hertz and these things. So what I did was, I downloaded some 432 hertz information. I had one of my engineers, I actually got in the booth at the studio. Henry's actually over there right now at Mogul Mind Studios. And anytime you're in Chicago, you got to come check it out.
For real. Yeah.
But I did 5 minutes of positive affirmation at over the 432 hertz. And every morning when I would wake up, I would listen to it every morning, make it the first thing that I would listen to. And it really did change my energy. I felt like I was breathing better. I felt like, my days were more successful. I didn't have as much of my bad habits that I felt the need to do.
It's just, man, it's so dope when you kind of figure out, like, with spirituality, how real it is and everything. It's what you're putting into your body every single day, what you're putting in your mind. What are you feeding your mind every single day? If you're feeding your mind with some bullshit negativity, that's what you're gonna be out here putting out into the world. So it's just feeding your mind constantly with, what you want to, what do you want to be? You have to fill your mind with that, fill your body with that when we're eating. There's all type of things, man. It's just once you kind of figure out this whole, like, hey, the spiritual, all these things are very real. You have to start developing these good habits, changing your mindset, like you said, which, I'm still, working on myself. I'm definitely just trying to read more and input that feed my mind what I want to feed my body what I want to feed it, and it's an everyday process, and it's not, overnight, but you have to put the work in on yourself to get to where you're, whatever happiness or goals you're trying to achieve out here. You have to, make sure you're feeding your body with the right things, and body and mind.
That's right. Look, personal mastery or personal transformation, self-transformation is where it's at. I'm not going to sit up and say everybody should join the temple, because I already know that's not going to happen, But if we as individually are working on ourselves, on bringing out the power, the potential that we have, nothing can hold us back. You can't rule over people who are realizing their potential. You can't. It won't work. So I advise everybody to check that out, 48mastersystem.com. It's only $14.95, and you can do it from the whole thing from your phone. But yeah, like personal transformation really is where it's at, because you can't hold back people who are bringing out the power of God in them. All right, all is mine, ultimately.
While you're on that, I do have another question for you. And like I said, we got a studio session, so we got a hard out in about 15 minutes. What does the acronym Islam mean to you? What does I, self, law, and master means to you?
All right, I, self, law, and master, to me, that means understanding who you truly are, right? Gives you dominion over the laws, even to the point where you could bypass some of the laws that we have governing our physical reality, right? Because you have the ones that I was speaking on just now, the Hermetic laws, the 7 Hermetic laws. When you master yourself, you are able to overcome any obstacles that you see, that you encounter in your life. Right.
For people to have a visual of what you're talking about, even though the school of thought is different, the mastering of self is the same. There's a guy, they call him Buddha Boy or Buddha Boy, something like that, and he meditates for like weeks on end. Like, and I've seen video where these monks that meditate like that, you could set some of these guys on fire and they don't even feel it, because they're out of this plane of existence, even though we still see them as there. But that's that self-mastery that you're talking about.
Yeah, and we don't even have to go that far to where, because like you were saying, the guy you were saying, he was meditating for days and weeks without eating or drinking. Right. Just making it a habit though. Like I just wake up and maybe like 7 minutes meditate, where I'm just going through the chakras. It's like seven chakras. And with that 48 Master System too, when you download that, I also put in a universal meditation. It's something that I actually created. It's got binaural waves in it, and they go through the different mind states that you have. It goes from the theta, alpha, gamma mind state to get you into a meditative mind state, right? And it's only 20 minutes long, but it's an MP3. You can listen to it on your phone. It's better if you put earphones on, the headphones, because like seriously, if you put that on, you fall asleep, you might wind up astral traveling or something like that. Like seriously, like I've woken up staring down at my body before. Like I hope that doesn't sound scary to anybody, but I'm just saying, like, it helps you. And look,
not all Vocal Minds Network. We've talked about astral projection on this network.
All right, perfect. So just a few minutes. That's all it takes. A few minutes. And if you make it, like you were saying, brother, if you do it on a regular basis, now a few minutes a day, that adds up. You have 365 days in a year. So if you do that every day, what is that? You know, that's 3,650 minutes of meditation. And that's powerful, right? And you know, the burden on us isn't that heavy, right? If you take one step towards God in you, it takes 2 steps towards you, right? Because it's a universal mind. It's in us all. And the more of it that you unfold, the more you subdue your lower nature. We're thinking that our body is all that we are when it's a living, breathing entity that wants to survive. It's here for a purpose. It's not supposed to be running things. It's actually supposed to be our servant, right?
Our vessel, right?
When things are out of balance. That's why we're in this situation. You know, it's really about subduing our lower self. The only reason anyone could rule over us, my bad, will be because we're out of balance. That's it.
I think that that's a lot just for people to think about. And I know a lot of times people hearing lower and higher self, that's like, that's an entire conversation in and of itself. Like, and we could do an entire build on the lower, and maybe that can be our next build if you are up for it. And, you know, I don't know if that's something we do on your platform or this platform, whatever works for you. I definitely want to make building with the Moors an incorporation of Mogul Minds Network, because I've done all types of content. I'm a truth seeker by nature. I don't know what it is. I just, some in me is shaken to my core when I know I'm being lied to about things. Like, I don't know what that is.
And that's the thing, is a lot of us are coming to that, you know, a lot of us, we have our own journey where we come to that conclusion, but people like us three here, you know, for sure, you're not like, I don't want to be blindfolded. I don't want to be walking around blindfolded my entire life. You know, once I figured out that I have been walking around blindfolded, basically, it's just we're truth seekers. So, you know, I do feel that, you know, and one thing that I have realized with the Moors is you guys definitely, you know, are always at the very core, from what I see, at the very least, is, you know, preaching true history of at least this part of the world. So it's just something that, you know, we definitely are, you know, we're glad to have you on board. We were glad to have a Zero on board, and we definitely would love to build, you know, more future content with you guys and have conversations like this. These are the conversations that me and Isaiah pretty much live for, honestly.
Likewise.
We have so many of these conversations off air, and then when we do have them on air, the comments alone are, you know, people got funny comments. I'm sure you check out Asir's content. One of my favorite contents that anybody commented was you know Asir's dropping gems when he says get the book, and then they like, you know, it's dot dot dot, and it's like, I've heard him say that so many times, it's just hilarious. But you also did the same thing, and I ended up grabbing that book, White Cargo. I actually have it in the next room right now. But I'm gonna get to that right after I complete the Circle 7 Quran. Just because, like, I just actually grabbed it. I had one, the studio flooded. I just got another one.
That's a whole discussion in and of itself, man.
It's definitely,
because we've been lied to big time. I would love to go in on the whole slavery topic, you know, because,
and one thing before I forget, we don't have that much time. I do want to share my screen real quick, because I want to do, you know, for our listeners and viewers, they can see. Do I got the right one up? Let me see.
Yeah, that's Asir the Duke of Tears Exposes, but that's our most recent one.
So this is the one that you jumped on with us last time. You know, we definitely got 23K views. It was dropped how many weeks ago?
Oh, our subscribers were probably around 250 when we did that did that episode. Now we gained 1,000 since then.
Yeah, so definitely for the listeners and viewers, check out this episode of Asir the Duke of Tears Exposes Black History. We had
shout out to Asir.
Yeah, shout out to Asir. We also
shout out to the brother.
Yeah, we also had you on board as well, Brother Sharif. So thank you, you know, for coming back on our platform and having another conversation with us. I was in the background for that one, but that was definitely a great conversation that I was also happy to be a part of. I love like hearing history and having these little conversations, you know, about, you know, what I consider, you know, truth. So definitely a pleasure to have you on board with us. And yeah, for you listeners, definitely check out this conversation, because, definitely Asir and Brother Sharif definitely had some more great, information in there as well.
There's so many gems there. I've watched it like 2 and 3 times already at this point, and I was in the conversation. There's so many gems dropped there. There's so much conversation and so many different topics that we have to circle back to, especially when it comes to things like the group economics, the trust to trust banking, the status correction, so that we can be operating in our proper selves. I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said, Henry. I cut you off.
No, I said building our own communities and re-educating our people, uplifting our people, being taught about being our higher self, spirituality, all those type of things and stuff that all of our people need to hear and be engaged in and actively be trying to learn about to advance our society, our world, our communities and stuff like that. That's really, like you said earlier, that's the only, and me and Isaiah have had this conversation so many times off camera, which is like that's the only way to move forward is just to be having conversations like this, education, educating our people and just pushing it on our people. And not everyone's going to take to it, but every person that gets enlightened by these conversations is a W in my eyes. So it's definitely something we got to keep pushing for sure.
Every conversation we have like this opens someone new's eyes. Yeah, we may get subscribers, things like that. People may be supporters. They may go check out, our collective websites or whatever. But really, it's about there's a theory in science, right, where it's not even necessarily a theory that using the scientific method you can prove this. Is called the 100 monkey theory, right, or the 100 monkey phenomenon, where you can have 100 monkeys here in the U.S. You can have 100 monkeys in the U.K. And you can teach the 100 monkeys in the US how to use a specific tool to a certain outcome. The 100 monkeys in the UK that you never taught anything will automatically learn how to do it because there is a collective consciousness on whatever this thing is that we're on. And I truly and honestly believe it works the same way with humans.
It's true. It's true. I want to say shout out to the brother Asir, man. We've been talking to that brother since before we moved to Brazil back in 2008. And that just brings back to what this is really about. It's about building family, because that's family. Y'all are family. We're building a community. When we have these talks, we're nation building. This is huge. This may be bigger than we even know. Like you were saying with the 100 monkey theory, like this is huge. We're building the nation, and it extends across all of these borders. Right, because regardless of where we're living at, we're on a similar mind state. We're in tune with what's going on universally. Like we're in the age of Aquarius.
Right,
we're entering into it.
Well, what they call that, the age of awakening.
Yeah. And so, I mean, all of the veils are being lifted, and it doesn't matter if other people have their own agenda to try to hold us back. Well, it doesn't matter. It's over. It's over. Once we realize this, just the fact that we can talk like this, the three of us can talk on this level and just reveal everything, eviscerate all of the lies. Yeah. It's over.
And I agree. And I talked about that. Like, no matter, because sometimes, depending on what environment you're in, like, like it's us, right? We live in Chicago where the majority of people still don't think like this. And a lot of people get caught up at that thinking like, no, it's over now. It's over. Too many people like us are having these conversations. Yep. In our rooms, and we're doing it live on YouTube. Like we're having these conversations all the time now with different people. It's over. It's just people are caught up on timelines on right now. It needs to be we're right now we're nation building, like you said, where we're striving for the future that we are looking for right now. And these conversations are very important to get to that, and people are caught up on, what's going on right now. Like it's over. We have to be patient, find our higher selves, and keep having these conversations, and we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. Eventually, it's just all about making the next generation better than ours and re-educating our children, our grandchildren, and things of that nature. Man, I'm very excited about what the future holds. Honestly, very excited.
Yeah, you're exactly right, man. And there's no going back. Like once we're done, there's no going back. Like people. Look, there's this one rapper, I can't remember his name. He's a young dude from Memphis. And like he came out on some, thug, drug whatever mess like everybody else, but now all he talks about is chakras and higher spirituality. I can't remember his name. He's like,
is he talking about Big Crit?
I think it's about Untitled Chapter. I think.
Nah.
NLE Chopper?
Yeah.
Or Big Crit?
That's him. That's him. It's like, it's over. It's over. It might take some people a while, but it's over. It's all good.
It's gonna take some people some time, and we might have to kind of limit our audience when we're actually talking about it for people who are just okay, whatever. But it's over with. Too many people are having these conversations, man. Too many people. Yeah. The blindfolds are off.
Time is relative, right? Yeah. Like my dad was just talking to me today about dudes in Belize that are completely off grid. These dudes can tell you what time it is, what day it is, but these dudes could also pull a chopper down if they need to. So it's like time is relative and it's an elusive concept. But I do very much appreciate building with you, Sharif. This is definitely something we're gonna have to touch base on more, because I definitely want to get into different aspects of nation building, and we can always touch base offline about a lot of things. Sharif, for any of our listeners, subscribers, anybody like that who has questions for you, wants to know more about Moors in America, wants to know more about what it is that you do and mastering self, where can they reach out to you and contact you, Sharif?
Just send an email to bay@moorsinamerica.com. That's BEY @moorsinamerica.com.
Okay, and then moorsinamerica.com is the website. I'm imagining you have some type of contact us page or something like that on there.
There should be a contact button on the website. If you forget the email, there should be
just because people are lazy and they would have had to have been writing right now. So rewind it. He spelled it for you guys.
Oh yeah. I'm looking right now. There's a contact button on there, so you good.
Okay, and then same thing with mogulminds.net, guys. If you just want to build with us, if you just rock with what we do, if you just want to support us because you support us, go to the merch section. Go to mogulminds.net. Go to the merch section. We got baby fucking onesies and bibs up there. We got t-shirts. We got everything up there just so that there's a wide variety of products for people who just want to support us. We build our finance through other means, but we definitely appreciate the support. We have these conversations not because we're paid to have them, but because we're looking to put out truth and have important conversation and nation build.
Yeah.
Most definitely. Definitely appreciate you having on board. Definitely was a great conversation. Definitely look forward to having, some more conversations like this with you in the future. We appreciate you having on board on our platform. Definitely reach out to us if you ever want us to, jump on your platform in any way or anything like that. We're always willing to, definitely support, people that support us and just are, everyone like us. So most definitely, it was a pleasure to have you on board. I appreciate you coming on and talking to us.
Yeah, I appreciate y'all too. Love the platform. Thank you for having me come on, and definitely y'all definitely more than welcome to come on to Moors in America and just build. That's what we're about. Peace and love to y'all. Thanks for having me on. Gratitude.
Peace.
Have a good one.
Peace.